All right, well, let's see what this kind of experience is like. I got myself a new toy, and it's not that I'm trying to really change my life to be some sort of crazy video logger person. Don't think that's going to be my niche anytime soon, because it does feel a bit artificial walking around outside with a fucking camera like some sort of sick influencer. But I had a couple of crazy realizations in the last, say, like 2 months maybe, that made me want to do this. And see if we can switch this camera around. We can. Nice. This is my normal walking route. Might be a train coming at some point, so don't be nervous. But yeah, I had a bit of a realization at one point that my life had kind of gone in a direction that I didn't really enjoy too much. And I thought, I probably need to find a way to change that. I had two big things that I sort of realized. One was that I had a lack of stability in terms of my sort of, fundamentally my income, and also just my life in general. Oh, here comes the train. Nice. Another realization that I had is that I'd kind of lost my voice to the community a bit. I'd become a bit invisible, which, wasn't really the thing that I wanted to be at all. And I think it'd be interesting to try and do a kind of content that's maybe a little bit more honest than what I've ever done before. I think, like a lot of people, I already have a tendency when I output things, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, I tend to end up sort of outputting the good things or the funny things or, that kind of stuff, and not so much about, some of the challenges of life, which I think is kind of a shame because, I think most of us in general share a lot of sort of similar experiences, and that's kind of been my feeling every time, like in the past when I've talked to Richard, let's say, about mental health stuff, is that people generally kind of have, many of the same experiences, right? People experience anxiety in their life and doubt and depression and all these other things, right? So the problem is, though, if nobody talks about it, then, we can't really learn from each other, or we can't find some community in sharing some of these things. So I think having a bit more openness about, both good and bad things, or just not even necessarily bad, but just like challenging things that are a bit of a problem. All of this came about, the reason I bought this little weird camera, and the reason I wanted to do this is because fundamentally my life, apart from casting, which is the thing that I really love doing, maybe I should spend a minute just talking about that. I really love casting. It's like it's the thing that sort of replenishes me for all the other things that I'm doing, like a lot of other things I like doing, but if I don't do enough casting, I always feel wrong somehow. I feel like, I want to go back to that thing, and then I'll go do all the other cool shit that I enjoy. But there's something about that just, is a big deal for me. But casting does something else. It helps to pay my bills. And in my family, it's like that's sort of my job in the family. It relies on my income. So it's my responsibility in some sense to look into the future, see how many events are there in a, given stretch of time, let's say 3, 4, 6 months, and how many of them can I do? How many can I lock down? How many can I be sure that I'm attending, and all the rest of it? And that has to sort of match up with, our daily, monthly, whatever economy, right? Like our budgets for these months. Otherwise, we're in trouble. Now the problem with that is that esports is kind of a crazy place still, unfortunately. And I usually don't know what I'm doing even 2 or 3 months into the future, to be honest. And that's bad in two ways. Like, if I'm looking at the calendar for next year, and there's a whole list of events, obviously, I wish I could get hired for every single one of them. That's unlikely for a whole host of reasons. I mean, if for no other reason than that we have so many talented casters in the space, I think all of whom I'm quite happy to call friends. So already there's just a basic competition element. But even if I'm told not a yes, but a no, that is so helpful. Because think about the scenario. Let's say we take any random month next year, like we're in March, and somebody says, oh, here's like 5 events in March, and you're doing none of them. Well, then I've got to start to be a bit creative, right? I've got to find a way to make money somewhere else, right? Like, I can't just take a whole month off and say, oh, well, cool, I'll be at home playing video games instead. Like, that's not really how the world works. So if I want to have some peace of mind that, you know, I can sort of pay the bills into the future as well, I need to know either a yes or a no. But the problem is you get neither most of the time. Most of the time you get a maybe, or we haven't really started planning that yet kind of answer. So then what happens? You're on standby. You don't know what's happening, right? That's a fox down there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Well, yeah, the maybe answer is terrifying because it means sometimes you can end up in a position where you are holding on to a couple of different maybes, or maybe like one yes, but there is another, let's say, bigger, or just an event maybe where you have a stronger partnership with like a longer history. You don't want to let them down if they do show up, or whatever it is, right? So sometimes you're stuck in this weird middle space where you can't really, maybe you can, but it's hard to make a really good decision. And you actually end up getting burned on a couple of different places where, you know, you tell one event, hold on, I'm just waiting for answer for this one. And then they hire somebody else in the meantime. And then the other event that you're waiting for, they tell you no. And now things are weird. So this is super common experience, not just me. That's an industry-wide problem in my opinion. And it's not really necessary. I don't know why we're doing it still. But it is kind of the way that it is. So yeah, that's the big downside. Like, the upside to casting is I love it, and it makes me happy, and you know, it's just the thing that I really always look forward to. But the downside is that it's so hard to plan your life. I mean, in terms of money, but I guess also in terms of family birthdays or any other sort of big events that might be coming up. Like, I can't really ever tell anyone, yeah, I'll be around that week or month or whatever. I just don't know. So it's bad, and it should probably come to an end at some point. But that's not up to me. Best I can do is kind of try to adapt to the whole thing. Now, I'm telling you all this whole story because I think I'm pretty good at planning things when it comes to like the events. Like, I do a decent job at contacting people. I obviously know everyone in every company in the space. So I'm pretty good at reaching out to people, I think, and sort of saying, hey, what's up? Can we do this? Can we do that? And usually that works out fine. Like, I'm almost 12 years deep into this, and it's been like this all 12 years. Nothing new. None of this is really news. But about a couple of months ago, the planning kind of broke apart, which is kind of how I started down this route. So, you know, something good has come of it, I think. But fundamentally, a couple of the events that I was scheduled to work got cancelled, and a couple of invoices got unbelievably delayed for complicated reasons that we don't maybe have to get into right now. But all in all, that meant that there was a huge sort of amount of pressure in my life to suddenly, you know, recoup those losses. And that's a pressure that still exists. Although I feel pretty good about it now, which is kind of why I'm making the video now. If I'd made this video 2 weeks ago, it would have been a really whiny video and a really sort of self-pitying video, which I didn't really want it to be. I don't know if there are people that are immune to self-pity, but I'm certainly not. But it's also, I think, one of the least attractive qualities. Oh, there's a little beetle horn. I don't know if you guys can see this. This little thing. Anyway, I'm definitely not immune to self-pity, and I think it's such an unattractive quality. I hate it when I get into that mind space. And it's one of the things I hope I can improve in the future for myself, is to just like get out of it quicker. It's fine to be there for like a day or two. I think I was there for about 10 days, which is way too long. Way too long. But once I got out of it, I also realized even though this has been my life for a long time, I actually need to be more active in finding ways to sort of help this problem. Because like I said, I can't change the esports industry. Like that's not something one person could do. And I'm not going to try either. Like that's way too crazy. Best I could do is just change my life, right? Like that's under my control. So I thought maybe I could start to do more content and try and, I don't have to make a ton of money doing content. I just have to make enough so that it evens out throughout the year so that the impact of missing an event isn't as big as it is right now for me. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do. And in thinking about that, I realized as well, man, I've kind of, like I said at the beginning, I've lost my voice to the community. And I became a bit invisible. And I think it happened because I used to do, what is that? That was just leaves. I found leaves. I think I used to have more of a, like an open line in terms of creating my own YouTube videos or participating in more podcasts or just doing more things in general. And I don't know what happened. Maybe it was laziness or maybe it was like, you know, kind of just hanging around for too long and hoping that that would work into the future. I think certainly one of the things that happened a little bit is that I had this image in my own head that I think I sold to myself as being like a cool brand kind of thing. It's like I am the, you know, I'm the guy that's been around for a long time, like Mr. Counter-Strike kind of thing, you know, and people will appreciate that. And maybe there's something to that, but the problem is I think there's another way to say a similar thing, which is sort of like a more negative phrasing or a more loaded phrasing the other way. But you could say something like, so, you know, what's up? Like, Anders just always been here. Like, is that what we're supposed to be? Is we supposed to be excited that he's just always been hanging around? Like, how could that be cool, you know? in every other context, you know, you wouldn't say, oh, you know, this guy's a great actor. He's always, you know, he's been acting for a long time, you know, like that in itself doesn't cover it, right? You kind of need more than that. And I think even more so in a place like esports where it's just a little bit faster moving, you know, the summers are showing up and all the rest of it. And I kind of just realized that maybe I had just gone too deep on that front and had kind of not done enough to reinvent myself and, you know, output more things. Not that I've been doing nothing. I realize I'm painting this picture that I'm just doing events and then hanging out in between. But I'm obviously not. Like, I'm involved with advising and helping out at the Index project, which is still really exciting, and we're doing a lot to try and make that work. It's complicated, but that's how all startups are really. And then there's Skybox, which currently we have almost every team in the top 30 that are using the software. So like, in some sense, I would try to claim for myself, I think, that like my impact on the game in that sense has been huge. Like, we're literally changing how teams prep and study and, you know, strategize for professional games. I'm proud of that. I think that's really sick. And Skybox is doing a lot of other things right now. As an example, we're building essentially a game dev arm of the company. And game development is the first thing that I remember wanting to do ever, like as a job. And for a lot of reasons, I've talked myself out of it for a real long time, but now we're doing it. So I'm spending a lot of time on a lot of other things, but these things are also, for lack of a better term, they're sort of long-term investments, right? They're the kind of things you do and it pays off into the future, maybe, who knows? But that's kind of like the plan of it. So the thing that kind of keeps me going all along is the casting. And the casting is unpredictable and chaotic in terms of what event am I doing, all the rest of it. Like, there's not a lot of rhyme or reason in it. And that's fine. Again, like I said, I spent weeks being upset and feeling betrayed about that, which is kind of stupid. And I guess I'll own that. That was a waste of time. And now instead, I think I'd rather try and see if I can sort of flesh out, you know, some of my time a little bit better so that there's less of an impact with these things. So that's kind of the, you know, that's what this little walk is for. In total, I try and do a walk like this every day. and it's about 5.5 kilometers-ish. Obviously not the stretch that we just walked, but in total, that's about what I try and walk, just to try and... That's why I do a lot of thinking. I try and walk at night because I just like that more for some reason. I just like how the light looks, and I don't know the people out, so it's brilliant. It's like 11 o'clock now, I think 10 o'clock or something. But so yeah, there might be more videos like this. I don't think it'll always be about esports and, you know, how I make money necessarily. That is probably going to be super boring long term. But I think it, you know, it could be other interesting topics. You know, hopefully something about my life and just something about like how I think about things. And my goal also a little bit, because like I said, this is still currently kind of call it a pressing issue in my life for the moment. But my hope is that in a week or a month or 2 months from now, I can make a video that kind of, you know, that follows up on this one, that shows you, okay, I had these big issues. Now something has improved. But I feel like if I only do the improvement video, then, like I said, it feels, I don't know if it's the same as lying, but it feels a bit dishonest in a way. Like it feels a bit weird to only selectively edit out, you know, and publish the parts where like things are super cool and never talk about the parts where it's, you know, a bit messed up, to be honest, which, you know, at times it is, which life just is. That's, like I said, true for all of us. So that's kind of the nature of why I'm doing this. Hope it's not too depressing or too gloomy. That was one of the big, I recorded this video once in Finland, and something about it didn't feel quite right. My big worry was that it's going to come off as like a lot of whining and complaining. It's the train again. That's not my intention, so hopefully it doesn't. But at the same time, I want it to try and keep it real a little bit, and hopefully I have. But that's it for now. Don't want to keep you guys for too much longer. If you have any feedback, any comments, anything you want to cover, any questions you want answered, then I'll be in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.